Hey everyone, it's Paul here from Using Technology Better. Welcome to the Mac Essential video course. We're going to look at 3 videos. Today, we're looking at the very first video, which is basically giving you a good overview of your Mac and where everything sits and lives. Don't forget, you can stop this video at any stage and you can pause it and then jump on your Mac itself and have a little bit of a play with the things that I'm showing you. I hope you find these incredibly useful and productive, and don't forget, we've got 2 more videos in the Mac Essential series. So these are the topics that we'll be covering in this session. This part 1 is all about getting to know your Mac, getting to know the user interface, that front screen, what do all those tools do, and where do I go to get specific information? So we'll be covering a lot of things, but we'll just be touching on them briefly so that we can dive into them with a little bit more depth as we go along with this series of videos for your Mac. Let's have a look at the toolbar. So at the top, you'll see that there's a range of different tools that we can tap into. It's our menu bar, and it's the easiest way to navigate around your Mac. It consists of the app menu, the menu bar itself, the Wi-Fi, Spotlight Control Center, and Notification Center. Now, we'll be diving into these in more depth in the current videos and the videos that we go further with going forward. The little apple at the top left-hand corner here is a great way for you to find out about your Mac. It's where we go to adjust our settings, to find some of the things that we'll be talking about in future videos, like accessibility tools, for example. And you can go to that apple and you'll find a range of different things. We'll take a closer look a little bit later with the apple itself. The system settings that you can also find down the bottom is that little cog, that system settings icon down the bottom. It will do the same thing as the app at the top, the little apple at the top, in regard to finding that information going forward. The app menu itself is where we can go when we're in specific apps. Let's say that we're in the Notes app. We can jump into that Notes app, tap on Notes, and then look at all of the settings and customize and personalize those for the user experience itself. We'll delve into that a little bit more as the videos progress. Spotlight is the #1 place I go to when we are looking for applications. We'll give a demonstration of this in the later videos, but really, if you go up to the magnifying glass at the top right-hand corner and you type in some words, you'll start to see that you'll be able to find all the different files, but also the websites, emails, and a range of different content that contains those keywords. It's a great way of finding not only documents, but applications that you want to use on your Mac. Siri, we know, is built into all of Apple devices, both Mac, iPad, and iOS as well. And it's a great way to start using your voice to actually find different elements on your Mac itself. The desktop, obviously, is where we do most of our work, so we'll be exploring that a little bit more. But for this video specifically, we'll be looking at the dock itself and where the apps are contained. We'll be looking at where do our downloads go. We'll be looking at the trash and how to organize and be a little bit more efficient with your desktop itself. The Launchpad, which you'll see down the bottom left-hand corner, is where you can find everything. It's where you can find your apps, where you can find and locate different services for your Mac going forward. And Finder is where our files are kept. So it's where our documents and our multimedia and our different files sits. Now, you'll also be able to see any cloud-based services that you've also got connected to your Mac. So if you've got Google or Microsoft or different cloud-based services, you'll find them on the left-hand side where you can also save your work. You can also see that you can save your documents on the desktop itself and documents and downloads, but you'll also see that there are cloud services where you can save your work as well as you go forward. We'll delve into that a little bit more when we look at Finder. The downloads here is where you'll receive and accept those different files, and on an Apple, it could be airdropping, it could be messages that you get through mail. That's where the downloads will go. down the bottom, you'll see a little stack folder there containing your downloads. The trash is obviously right next to it, and that's where we can send different files and clean up your desktop and do a range of different things and send them to the trash. And then we can also right click on that bin, and we can actually empty that trash as well, so that we're using our files a little bit more efficiently with our space on our desktop and our documents. Touch ID is a great way to keep your Mac secure. Now, depending on your organization, we'll walk you through how you can actually add your fingerprint and your Touch ID to your Mac so that you can access your desktop really quickly and efficiently, but also very safely in regard to security going forward. We'll also look at accessibility at a later video as well. Some of the tools that you might access to customize and make accessing your work more efficient and becoming more productive by customizing those accessibility tools within your settings itself. For example, making your text bigger, turning on and enabling things like text to speech to help you get through your work more efficiently going forward. We'll look at mission control and how you can view all your different desktops on the one device and how you can view those. We'll definitely look at Stage Manager as a way of organizing your desktop and staying on top of your different tasks and seeing how you can personalize that desktop itself to be exactly how you would like it. So we'll go through that in this video. And we also need to look at our trackpad, don't we? We need to get more familiar with the trackpad itself. As we move away, or we might move away from our mouse, we want to be able to customize that and go through the different elements to make it resemble what we're used to going forward on our trackpad. We'll look at that in this session setting up today. And there are our shortcuts. We love our shortcuts, don't we? So before we dive into a little bit more, some of those specifics that we looked at, there are a range of different shortcuts that you might see. There are some, I guess, parallels. There are some consistencies across a range of different platforms that you might use. And some of these we'll explore as we go through some of the productivity tutorials that will actually run out for you. Why don't we make a start though? I'm going to get out of my keynote presentation here and I'm going to jump into just my desktop so that you can look. We'll minimize this one and we'll start to unpack some of those features that I just went through now. One of the first things you'll notice is at the top right hand corner there is a little icon that indicates this is my control center. You can see this is where I can get easy and quick access to a range of different things that we'll be exploring. Some of the things that we love, for example, Stage Manager and screen mirroring to maybe a TV screen, or putting on our focus that we'll go into in regards to the productivity tutorials. These are all really, really quick finds. And so we need to be able to customize that control center and place on it the content that you would like to use. So those frequently used tools we can put in our control center so that we can quickly access it. So if I tap on that again, you can see that I tap on it and I bring up my control center. So why don't we customize our control center and set up our Mac so that we can get quick access to those tools? The easiest way to find our control panel is to go up to our magnifying glass. If we go to our magnifying glass, the spotlight search is where we go to find everything. So if I type in control, you'll see that it starts to narrow down what I'm looking for. We can also find the control center by going up to our Apple, going to System Settings, and going down to Control Center. It's just another way of finding it. The spotlight search you'll get, I think, into the habit of using more regularly. That Control Center, you can see that the ones that are already in my Control Center, but we can add different things. For example, if we wanted to look at the percentage of my battery, we can turn that on, and by clicking that on, it will now add that up into my Control Center at the top. And you can see up here, we can also turn on some things on and off. Some of the things that we use quite often in our Control Center are already there by default. So if we go up to our Control Center here, you'll see some of that Stage Manager and screen mirroring and focus and Wi-Fi access. They'll be there by default. If they're not there by default, you can turn them on. So Control Center, everyone, is a great place to start to really customize and personalize your desktop going forward. The other one that we quickly looked at there was Spotlight. So the Spotlight is the magnifying glass at the top right-hand corner there. And you can see that if I type in someone's name, you can see that I've not only looking up notes and documents that I've created on that employee, but it also brings up things like folders, websites that contain that name. So Spotlight is not only looking for documents and settings, but it will do a really great quick search across your entire Mac to find what you are looking for. So if we were looking for something like mission control, I think I touched on that briefly in the introduction. Let's open some things onto our desktop. So I'm going to open up my little keynote that I'm working on at the moment for everyone in this session. So I've opened up that and I'm just pulling the different window sizes there to resize. I might even open another one. Let's open up our next video that we're about to do. We'll make that a little bit smaller as well. We might open up a notes document, which we'll go through a little bit later on in regard to how to use notes in our productivity. So we might open that up and just put that on our desktop here. You can see there, that's looking really good. And we also might just throw maybe some screenshots or some things onto our desktop just to get it nice and reflective of what our current things might look like. So what we can do there is if we go up to our magnifying glass, which is our Spotlight, we can type in mission control and we can open that up. And what that does is if I put my mouse at the top, you can see that I've got one desktop open and this is what's on that desktop. I can open and place content on multiple desktops by hitting the little plus at the top so that I can actually work across different desktops and organize my time at the same time. So mission control, and to get out of mission control, I'm just going to tap on the side here. And you can see that I've got all of my different elements here. I'm going to press on my little yellow and just minimize our work. Now this is minimizing all of our different windows by hitting the little yellow minimize button, which is the same across different platforms. And you can see it's going down the bottom. Now I can turn on Stage Manager, which we'll go through now, that will actually place those in some other places depending on how you best like to work. So if I open them up again, just by tapping them, and I go up to my control center and I turn on Stage Manager, you'll notice that when I minimize these, it now goes to the left-hand side in little stacks. For example, all my keynotes are going to sit there, all my documents, my files are going to go there. If I open up Google Chrome and I do a little search on Woolworths, and then if I minimize that, you'll see that it goes to a web browsing stack on the left-hand side of my Stage Manager. A lot of clients that I work with really like Stage Manager because it doesn't send it down the bottom and really overpopulate my doc down the bottom, but it actually places it on the side that I can bring up those different things and still have it on the side of my page. So that's called Stage Manager, and it's a good one to turn on at the start if you like the way that that operates. I'm going to go up to my control center again and turn that off. And you can see now I might shut down some of those things as I go along. I might minimize my keynotes as we go. So Spotlight and Control Center at the top right-hand corner are two really great areas to start with and getting familiar about your Mac. The other one that I'd love to show you to get started with your Mac, remembering this is just video 1, is your trackpad itself. You might want it to replicate how you normally use your mouse and how you navigate around your Mac. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go up to my Spotlight again and I'm going to type in trackpad. You can see that I'm trying to model using Spotlight as much as possible. Now you can see here that trackpad is in my settings. So I can also find that by going to my system settings. But one of the things that you might find is that that trackpad might be difficult to find because it's in a subcategory of one of those. So we could go there definitely through my settings if that's more comfortable for you. Or once again, we can go to Spotlight and look for the exact things that are on our Mac. So I'm going to click on trackpad and I'm going to show you the couple of things that I think clients should think about in regard to setting up their trackpad at the very beginning of their Mac journey. So what we can do there is the point and click is the main one. Now this is giving me a little demonstration on my trackpad of how it actually works from a functionality point of view. I normally toggle off my force click and haptic feedback because I've found that some clients don't like the haptic feedback in regard to when they click on their mouse pad. So I normally turn that off. And the number one question that I get is, Paul, how do I customize my secondary click, that right click on a mouse? At the moment, you can see that I've got my point and click is just in the middle of my trackpad. That's the single click, and I can adjust the setting and the speed of that. But down here, this is where I can customize my secondary click. By default, I think the secondary click could be a click with your two fingers. So if I click on that, you can see here, it'll give me a little demonstration of the two fingers when I do my secondary click. I like to resemble what a mouse is like. So I'm going to click on the bottom right-hand corner here, and it will give me that secondary click down the bottom right. You can see it's giving me a little demo there as I do it. So as you click on that, you can see that the demonstration will come up the top. And then when you click on that, it'll give a little, if I wait for that one first, it'll give you a little indication of where that right click is going to be utilized. We'll go through some of the advanced finger gestures and more gestures in the later videos, but I wanted to show you those two things. The first one is the secondary click because we use that an awful lot in regard to different websites and documents that we'll be using. And also, I normally turn off the haptic and the forced click. It just somehow gets people frustrated in regard to their trackpad. So spend some time in there, look for the different previews that they give you, and you can customize your trackpad to operate and function just how you like it. The final thing that we'll look at in this initial video is just setting up your Touch ID. So if I go up to my Apple, and I click on my system settings, our Touch ID is found just down the bottom here as a major category on the left-hand side, and it looks a little bit like this. Now, depending on how your company has set up your Macs, this might not be available, but if it is available, it's a good way of protecting and securing your Mac. Now, once again, there's another way of doing it, going up to our Spotlight, clicking in that search and just typing in Touch ID, and you can see that it comes up as the number one. So two ways of finding your information. Setting up your Touch ID involves using the little sensor at the top right-hand corner of your Mac where you turn your Mac on and off again. And you can simply add both passwords, but you can also add your fingerprints. Now, this will be hard for me to do because I'm recording my screen, but I would encourage you, if you do have access to this, to add your Touch ID. And that way you can start to explore the different aspects of running that. So I'm going to put my password in because it's going to ask me to do that. I'm going to unlock that. And you can see here that when I put my finger on my Touch ID, I raise my finger up and down again until it's actually finished. And it'll ask me to do that a couple of times in regard to getting the correct and accurate fingerprint there. And I'm going to press done. And you can see here I can add multiple fingers. And I normally use the finger that I reach up for that on-off switch on my Mac in regard to doing that. It's a great way of setting up some security for your Mac itself going forward. We can also do some different ways of doing IDs when we look at our iPad and our iPhone in regard to adjusting that at the same time. So let's take a look at what we've covered today in our Mac Essentials, just our initial session. We really did want to look at the navigation, looking around the screen. And remember, this video, you can go back, you can watch it at your own speed, and you can pause and actually do what we did. We looked at all of those Apple menus and the menu bar and the settings. We looked briefly at Finder, but we'll look a little bit more into that as we go through. We'll also look at some of these other aspects that we just touched on briefly. We'll look at those in some more depth in both video 2 and video 3, where you get a little bit more hands-on and we can explore those in a little bit more depth. So that's video 1 of Mac Essentials. The next video I would suggest that you watch straight after this one, because it will continue on beautifully in regard to the scope and the sequence of skills and knowledge that you can acquire on your Mac going forward. Paul Hamilton here from UTB, signing off for video 1.